What hurt more, falling through the skylight or having your mortgage company kind of crumble right in front of you?
Dude, mortgage. Yeah, definitely the mortgage company for sure.
I bet. All right, welcome to True Talk. Got my man Frank Eufemia with us today. How we doing,
up,
Frank?
buddy? I am fantastic. How are you?
Awesome, dude. Thanks for coming up.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, bro. We're going to talk about today, Frank. You've been on True Talk a handful of times.
Yeah.
One of the things I want to talk about, though, I've noticed, I want to say recently, I think I've seen this in you in a long time, but it's come out a lot more over the past couple of years, is teamwork.
Yeah.
Right. You, Mike Fowler, you guys, every time I talk to someone, they're like, oh, I got this from Mike. I got this from Frank. And then, like, they're not even in your group.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like a throwback, right? Like, I think you said this before we started recording. That's how we built this company. Mm-hmm. It wasn't hey, these are my secrets and you can't have them. It's hey, dude, I'm doing this. It's working. Why don't you try? Why don't you check it out?
For sure.
And going back, talking about your background a little bit. You played sports growing up, right?
I did.
What was your sport you excelled at the most?
Baseball.
You love baseball?
Yeah.
What position?
Catcher.
Okay. Dude, it's funny. My daughter played catcher in softball.
Okay.
And she liked it. And the coach was like, I've never met someone at this age that wanted to play catcher. It's usually like you're playing catcher because you're bigger.
Right.
You know, did you enjoy?
It's the best position on the field.
Yeah,
for sure.
And you're pretty much the guy in charge.
Yeah.
You know, you're the go-to.
Yep.
So you played catcher, played baseball through high school. And then what happened? Did you stop? Or?
I mean, I had a couple teams looking at me, major league teams looking at me, and some but I got into drugs.
Okay.
And found that to be more important at that point in time than baseball, which was, stupid. My cousin pitched for the Minnesota Twins for a lot of years. And,
really?
Yeah, so I had some connections.
Did you guys play together growing up?
No, he was my cousin is 65, so he's a good bit older. Yeah, I was in the Twins locker room when they would play the Orioles.
Really?
As a kid. Yeah, it was awesome.
So at that time, did you think like I'm going to pursue baseball? And
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to do.
Yeah. And then, got sidetracked. You grew up in Baltimore?
I did.
Yeah. So obviously, there's that right there, right?
Yeah,
like
there's that.
So you went that path and then stopped playing. But what were some things you learned, because I see what you're doing today, and I'm like, this came from somewhere, right? Yeah. You don't just like wake up one day, I'm going to be a team player. What were some things you learned growing up playing baseball that you think has helped you in business?
Well, I mean, baseball, and obviously I coached football for 18, 17 years, and it's like, you do what's best for the team. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying I wanted to catch because I did, but it was like at some games, coach or my dad coached me for a long time too, and be like, I need you to play third. Yeah. Today I'm like, but I'm the catcher. He's like, but I need you at third. And I'll be like, okay. Yeah. And then same deal, like, I started catching because they're like, I need you to catch. Our catcher's out. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't want to catch. And then I got back there and I loved it. So it's like, you learn to do things that are best for the team, and not necessarily best for yourself. And I think that is in any team sport, whether it is baseball, football, soccer, basketball, I'm a guard where you're going to play forward. Right. You know what I mean? Like and if you do that, you learn that if everybody on the team does what's best for the team wins. Correct. That's how you build culture. Right. When you have, that's what's up at UConn. I mean, they have the best culture in college basketball, bar none. Right. Those guys love each other. Yeah. And they'll do whatever it takes for the team. Yeah. And I think we've gotten at FFL, that's how we built this. Exactly. Thing. Like whatever it took for the team. Yeah. And we went from who are they to we know who they are. Everybody knows who we are. Right. And that's to me like the greatest accomplishment we have. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like we had the best team ever. Yes. At FFL. Absolutely.
It's funny, we met at a different company.
Yep.
And you weren't part of like our hierarchy or downline, right? And I think this, you could say this about a lot of people here at FFL. We met at a different company, but a lot of you guys plugged into Sean's training, what we were doing. And we never looked at it like, well, we don't make money off them. They shouldn't be here. Dude, I remember Mark Me being at every boot camp and training, like his whole crew would come up. Dude, half the room was his people. Right. And then, Sean would go down Baltimore, do a meeting, and you guys would be there. And, Wetmore and that whole crew, like everyone just participated. Yep. because we always had that mentality of it. Rising tide raises all ships, right?
That's
so
right.
if the company as a whole is doing better, then my team's going to do better.
That's right.
And it goes back to what you're talking about, put the team first. You know, it's funny you mentioned UConn. It's like, I'm not a huge college basketball guy, but UConn team is usually the team where you don't know any of the stars. You just know it as UConn's good.
That's right.
You know, it's not like, LeBron James, like, okay, when he was in Cleveland, it's like, LeBron.
You're right.
But UConn, you just look at that as a whole because it's it's all about the team. You know, and I love what you said, putting the team first. And because if you're looking out for your own self, you may not want to go play third. Like, dude, I want to play catcher because I'm the best catcher. Like, yeah, dude, but the team needs you to do this. You know, and it goes back to, like, I think about when I got started in this business. Like, Sean spent time training me, gave me leads. Those are leads that he could have sold.
For sure.
But he's like, dude, if I give him leads and then he can make some sales, he can help out his family.
That's right.
Well, that's going to help the bigger team.
That's right.
I mean, for so many different reasons.
So many different reasons.
Number one, you're validating the model. It helps everyone else who's watching, right? 5,
That's
6,
right.
7, 8, 9. You know what I mean?
That's right.
You got your insurance license, what year? Do you remember?
2010.
You were in mortgages at the time?
Yeah, we were getting out of the mortgage business. Yep.
During was it financial crisis?
Yeah, I mean, 2008, 9, there was like, 14 banks closing in a span of 2 or 3 days.
It was a crazy time.
It was crazy.
Because it impacted like, I wasn't in anything financial service related. I was in construction.
Yeah.
But it impacted just about
everything. For sure.
I remember I was talking to my brother, and I was like, this is what, 07, right? So I was probably in my early 20s. And he's like, there's a recession coming. I'm like, yeah. He goes, you know what that means? I'm like, no. He's like, why'd you say yes to him? I'm like, I don't know. But I'm like, I was a young kid.
You didn't think about it either.
No.
No.
I'm just thinking, we're building houses, remodel, and this thing is just going to keep going. We're killing it.
Yeah.
And, dude, it was like, he said that, and I'm like, you're like some Nostradamus or some shit, because literally, like, less than a year later, I'm calling him because he had a painting business. I'm like, yo, can I come work for you? Because we got nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
Dude, everything fell through. So you were in mortgages.
Yeah.
You doing a lot of refis or?
Oh, yeah, mostly refis.
Mostly
We did
refis.
some purchases, but mostly refis.
How long were you in mortgages for at that point? Like, how long were you in mortgages before it crashed?
2009, so I want to say probably close to 9 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Relatively successful.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Your wife worked with you?
Yeah, I met Jamie at a mortgage company we both worked at, and then we left that company.
Got it.
And started our own little deal.
Yeah.
And did that for 3 or 4 years, and it was like, you seen the table that's full set, and then they just yanked it. I mean, that's literally what it was like.
Wow. Did you see it coming? Or
mean,
or you like me, like just, hey, everything's great?
I wouldn't say I saw it coming, but I would look at some of these loans going through, and I would go like, there's no way these people are going to pay their mortgage.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was just like, and if I was a little more mature, I probably would have saw that and said, this is not going to end well.
Yeah.
But I didn't see it coming because we bought a big house when we were young and just were spending money like it was going out of style. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had nothing saved, and we could have easily had enough saved to get through that mess.
Yeah.
But we didn't. And again, you live and learn. I think everything happens for a reason.
Right. So when the crash happened or whatever, like what happened with your mortgage company?
It went from, we lost in one day like $40,000 in loans.
Wow.
Like that would have been 40 grand in our pocket.
Yeah.
Like over, $500,000 in loans. And that was like the first day.
You had kids at the time?
Yeah. We had 3.
Wow.
My buddy's wife was like the number 1 account rep at a big mortgage company.
Yeah.
And it was New Year's Eve, and we were supposed to go to Deep Creek skiing.
Okay.
And she called us that day, and early in that day, she was like, I just got let go. I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, they just let me go. I'm like, you're like the number 1 account rep in the country. What is? She's like, no, they didn't just let me go. They let everybody go. They shut their doors.
Wow.
And that's where we had, we sent the majority of our business there.
Got it. So at that point, you knew it was coming.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't know it was going to be that bad.
Okay.
And then the next day, 3 more banks. And then the next day, 6 banks. It was crazy.
Wow.
And they just kept closing and close. And when what the straw that broke the camel's back was, I had a guy that I knew for a long while. I was good friends with my sister. He owned a landscaping company.
Yeah.
And he had like 6 trucks, like a pretty decent sized company, was making money, had almost $500,000 in cash.
Okay.
And then, over $500,000 in like an IRA.
Yeah.
And he was trying to get a loan, and the banks were like, no, he doesn't make enough money. And I'm like, this is like a $300,000 loan.
Right.
Like, he's got enough
He's got
money
it in
to
the
pay
bank.
it off.
Yeah.
They're like, no, his DTI is all messed up. I'm like, this is so dumb. And then at that point in time, common sense was gone. I'm like, this is not going to work.
Yeah.
Because same thing with life insurance. You try and get people approved. That's your job.
Right.
And we got people approved for mortgages that were probably not a good fit for a mortgage,
right.
but they were taking them, and we were good at pushing them.
It's just what was happening at the time.
That's the way it worked.
I bought a house that I had no business buying at that time.
Sure.
It's funny. My wife worked at the bank that gave us the loan. Like, y'all know what you pay her,
right?
You know what she makes,
right?
You know what I make, and they're like, well, what if you made more? I'm like, I don't. They're like, well, what if we put down that you made more? And I'm like, to him, like, yeah, sure, do it. Like. Yeah. Whatever. And then we go. Yeah, it's funny when you go down to the bank and go, here's the keys. Like, what do you mean? Like, this is for the house.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's your house. I'm like, I don't want it anymore. I can't afford it.
They had a stated income loan. So if your credit score was good, like I think it was above 700, you could state your career. So, and we used to do some of the we would put down, $200,000 a year. And what was their occupation? Astronaut.
Yeah.
Just because they were like going like at some point they're going to go, there's no way.
Right.
But they never did. I mean, we put some wacky careers down on that paper, and they always went through.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, we had carriers back in the day at the old company where you're like, dude, they're issuing all this stuff. Like, look at their underwriting. They you could be, half dead, and they're like, this ain't going to last.
No.
Like, has the people at the underwriters actually read this underwriting guide?
Yeah, for sure.
And then, runs for like a year, and then like, we're going to pull the product. Like, shit.
Yeah. Just a matter of time.
So do you remember, we're talking, over 10 years ago now. Do you remember that feeling, like that week when all these banks are closing, you got 3 young kids, you're married, this is your livelihood, right?
Yeah,
like
for sure.
You built a business, you're supporting your family, and then you're watching the rug just kind of get pulled underneath. Do you remember what that felt like?
Yeah, it was an empty feeling, like that pit in your stomach. You know what I mean? It's just, I remember, so this was New Year's Eve. My birthday's in February.
Okay.
And we, let our house go because we just knew there was no way we could afford this mortgage payment.
Yeah.
So we put it up for short sale, and it sold so fast.
Yeah.
And I just remember sitting in my office, like wondering, like beating myself up. Like, you're such a loser. You're letting your family down. And my sister was there, and she just came in and put her hand on my shoulder. She's like, it's going to be okay. I'm like, there's no way this is going to be okay.
Wow.
It was bad. It was bad.
You thought that was the end.
I did, because I'm like, I don't have a degree.
Yeah.
I had a plumbing license. I'm like, but I've been injured a bunch. My body was, even though I was still young, I'm like.
Did you fall through a window or skylight or something?
Yeah, fell through a skylight 25 feet straight
Holy
on my
shit.
back. But I just had my hip replaced.
Yeah.
In February, right after college. Just did.
Oh, okay.
The greatest thing, because I fell through that skylight on my right side.
How the hell did you fall through a skylight?
So we were setting rooftop units, like air handling units, like the air conditioning stuff. And there was a skylight, and I was squatting catcher style, but it was really windy. And so the wind blew me off balance. I put my hand back.
Okay.
When I put my hand back, it was right like there was nothing there.
Damn. And
I just fell. But when day before I turned 21, I was skiing, and I hit a tree going about 80 miles an hour. My bindings on my ski broke. And then when I was 17, about to turn 18, I fell asleep at the wheel, hit a telephone pole, and broke my back as well. So, I was pretty brutal on the body. Yeah.
What hurt more, falling through the skylight or having your mortgage company kind of crumble right in front of you?
Dude, mortgage. Yeah, definitely the mortgage company for sure.
I bet.
Yeah.
So where'd you go from there? Did you stay in mortgages and still try to make it work? Did you jump to life insurance right away?
For a little bit.
Yeah.
And then it just wasn't working. It's because they wouldn't approve anything.
Yeah.
It went from approving everything to approving nothing.
Yeah. Overcorrecting.
Yeah, correct. Overcorrecting. And so Jamie actually found insurance. I went to interview at another company. I won't say their name.
Yeah. For mortgages or insurance?
No, for insurance. And the guy was like, You know, it was like the boiler room pitch. You know,
okay.
F you, mom and dad. See how it feels when you're making their Lexus payment. And I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And the guy brought me in. He gave me this whole spiel about like, oh, dude, you know, we don't get people in like you. And then like, you know, 6 days later, I was standing outside of his office talking to his assistant.
Yeah.
And I heard him giving somebody else the same pitch. And I'm like, you know what? I just walked out. I'm like, I'm done. And then James was like, well, I found this deal. It's like mortgage protection. You should look at it. And then, you know, the rest is history.
Got it. So she responded to the ad guy.
Yeah. Oh, she was my upline at the last.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny. Did she get licensed first?
Yeah. No, actually, we got licensed at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. What was that transition like? I mean, it's a different sale, right? Mortgage, like, especially during that time, they're like coming, beating down the door, right?
Yeah. The biggest the biggest struggle was the average commission per sale for the mortgages versus the insurance. It's a lot different. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's 10 times the amount for a mortgage than you would get on a life insurance policy. So it was like, man, I actually got to work.
Yeah.
Because I don't say it didn't work. We worked. But I needed to close, you know, maybe 8 to 10 loans a month.
Yeah.
So it was that grind of being on the road all day.
Yeah.
So it was just a switch, you know. It took a little bit of time to adapt, and then
well, how long was that? Because there's a learning curve, right?
For sure,
and for anyone, I don't care if you come from sales, if you didn't.
Yeah.
Now it's up to you how quick you're going to get through that, right? I mean, you hear people they run 100 appointment, whatever the number is. How long was that learning curve for you to where you felt like, okay, I can do this. This makes sense.
I mean, I don't remember the time frame, but I remember when I met Sean. Okay. And because the guy that recruited us was like run 10 appointmins a week, you know, attend 54 meetings. And I'm like, okay, you know, I didn't know I didn't know any different. Never always goes like, why did you do that? I'm like, because I didn't know. I'm expecting the person that's supposed to be helping me to actually help me.
Right. And going back to what you said, you're a team guy. Right?
I'm a team guy.
You're like, dude, my team leader here, whatever you want to call it, but he's the guy leading my team. He's going, Frank, do this. You're got it.
That's it. 100%. And then I met Sean. He's like, stop listening to anything they say. Yeah. I'm like, okay. And then I stopped listening to anything anybody said but Sean. Yeah. And people were like, dude, that's so weird. I'm like, not really. First of all, he had no vested interest in me. None. So why would he take time to help me if he was going to just give me some information that was wrong? That makes no sense at all. And what he was telling me to do was actually working. Yeah. We were struggling, and then when I started talking to Sean and doing what he said, we were actually in the positive. So it's like, yeah, I'm just going to follow him.
What were some of the biggest tweaks you made after talking to Sean?
24, 25 appointments a week.
Yeah.
I mean, and nothing else matters.
Yeah.
You know, do it till you can't do it. Work on the weekends.
Yeah.
And it was hard because I had 2 kids from my first marriage.
Okay.
And I got them every other weekend. By this time, there was a time where I had them all weekend, every weekend.
Yeah.
And then the ex came. She was like, "You have the kids every weekend." I was like, "Do I?" I knew that time was coming. Yeah, so that came around that time, and he's like, "Dude, you got to do it." I was like, "I don't." He's like, "I know, but you have to do it."
Yeah.
Or.
So what'd you do with the kids on the weekends?
I mean, Jamie was there.
Yeah. So you had to sacrifice time.
Yeah, I had to sacrifice time.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, you have to help 10 families a week, minimum. Minimum. Yeah. And he's like, if you happen to do it, you still run Saturday. Maybe you run a half a day or you don't do a full, you know, but you have to get ahead and stay ahead.
Right.
And that's what we did.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's kind of like, you know, you when you fly, they give you the whole dissertation every time. I wish they would just be like, yo, has anyone not flown lately? Like, me? Okay, bro, like, if you've flown, like, within the last year, just shut up and let's take off. But anyways, that has nothing to do with this.
Dude, to that, it's funny. We were, not this past time we just got, but the last time I was on a flight, I got on, I had my earbuds in, and the lady, the flight attendant, she was pretty cool.
Yeah.
She goes, how many airbags or air masks drop out if something happens? I said 3. She was like, no, don't you ever listen to this thing? It's actually 4.
Okay.
And I'm like, really?
Right.
She's like, yeah. So the next time I go on, there were like 4 oxygen masks, which I was like, get out of here. I was
That's
like,
funny. Well, now you know.
Now you know.
I love when you get to security and it changes. Like you could have flown last month and they're like, take your laptop out. Then you come 2 weeks later, and you're taking your laptop
And
out,
they're
and
yelling
like,
at you.
What are you doing? Like, dude, I'm sorry.
Right?
I didn't know the rule changed since yesterday, bro.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, the last city I was in, they made me take it out.
Right.
And they're like yelling, they're angry.
Yeah,
like,
they're
everybody
always
calm
angry.
down.
They're
man.
always angry.
I was just putting it in the bin. Like, shit. But anyway, speaking of the mask, when the mask drop, they always go, if you're sitting with a child, right,
Yep.
you put your mask on
That's
first,
right.
Because you got to help yourself. And I think that goes back to, like, being a good team player, right? You do have to take care of your shit first.
Yeah.
And, when you're leading a team in sales, and you got to take care of your sales first.
Correct.
Right? Because if you're on my team and I'm doing something I expect you to do it, I need to be doing that every week.
Agreed.
And I think that was one of the things that attracted a lot of us to working with Sean. Like, he was doing that.
Yeah, he was in the fight with us.
Yeah, he was out there, dude. I remember we used to have remember the Voxer? Did you ever Voxer?
Oh, yeah, the Vox account, yeah.
Dude, you get on and, Sean would be the first one on there. I'm leaving Tom and Mary's house, just help them out. You're like, dude, it's 7:30. Like, how you meeting with people right now? Like, I'm really afraid to call them right now. You know?
Right.
But it was leading by example, I think, is a big part of building a successful team.
Yeah.
Because they got to know that you're willing to do anything that you're asking me to do.
Correct.
So you start talking to Sean, you get this thing figured out, and then, you were at the other company for what, handful of years?
3 years, I
3
think.
years.
Yeah.
Got it. And then we started Family First Life.
Yeah.
You kind of came over right away.
Yeah, for sure.
It's, people that are starting here now, Family First Life has evolved. Since the 10 plus years we've been in business. But you talk about that team aspect, and I think we're starting to see more of that now.
Yeah, it's coming
right?
back.
Like we kind of went to a point where everyone was like, "No, this is mine."
Yeah,
and we're like, "Wait a minute, that's not how we got here."
Correct.
But talk about the early days and how important the overall team, the big team, was back then.
You can't win a basketball game of football. You can't win it by yourself.
Right.
Like, without the guys surrounding you, it's pointless. And that's kind of how I felt about this. Like, the guys that came in the beginning, it was like I leaned on them.
Yeah.
And they leaned on me. Because, while Sean's always accessible, dude, he's busy. So,
right.
And you also don't want to call them. Sometimes you just need to vent. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You got your running buddies. Like, dude, I just got my ass kicked today. They're like, yeah, so did I. Or they say, I killed it. What's wrong with you? You know what I mean? It's just, but, I remember the days where I go, dude, Mark, I just recruited somebody in New Jersey. Can they come into your office? He's like, yeah, for sure. And then 2 weeks later, Killamette call me and go, hey, or Wetmore, hey, I just got somebody in Maryland. Can they come in your office? Yeah, for sure.
Right.
And then the guy gets in the office. He's like, I just called all my leads. I'm like, here, call these.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They're like, you're giving leads to a guy that's not on your team? Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Like, we always understood the bigger picture.
Right.
And I also I just wanted to be a good team guy.
Yeah.
Like, that's always been important. Whatever the play is called, just run it. You know what I mean? I don't need credit. I don't need anything. I just want to win. Yeah. I want everybody else to win too.
I feel like regardless of what you believe in, whether you're religious, spiritual, karma, whatever you put out comes back.
For sure.
So if I go above and beyond to help you out and I don't make $1 off it or don't impact me, I feel like it's going to come back in some way, shape, or form.
Dude, I'll never forget. I don't remember the year it was that Sean really got involved with the Dream Center. It's been a while.
Yeah.
But I remember hearing Pastor Matthew talk and then going up to Sean after, and I go, dude, I'm going to give 10% of my bonus to the Dream Center every month. This for the rest of the year. And it was like we were team wise at like, 300,000 for the month as a team. And then in 6-7 months, we were at $1 million a month as a team. Yeah. And I'm like, and then we just started and then my sister goes to Honduras on mission trips every year, and she goes to, it's an orphanage. Okay. And like, the story is just terrible, what they do to kids in this country. And so I went one year, and I'm like, I fell in love with this place, with the kids and the people that run it. They're just so selfless. So we started giving them money every month. And it seemed like, it's like a boomerang. The more I gave, the more came back. I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it works. But people don't trust that.
No.
Which is wild to me. because they have no, they don't have faith, I guess. And that's their issue, not mine. But it says it, and I'm Christian. I believe in God.
Yeah.
It says it in the book. That's the only thing that God says, test me on, is that give and you'll receive.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. If you don't believe me, test me. It says it.
Right.
So I'm like, but I also go like, I don't know if you can do it without a pure heart, right? You know what I mean? You got to give,
right, and
not feel forced to give. I just like giving and helping people.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people out there like that. We have a lot of them on this team right now.
Absolutely. And it's not always from a finance. It's not saying, hey, go give your money there. It could be your time. It could be your mentoring. I mean, like you talked about early on meeting Sean, he made no money off your group, but he took time to go, hey, Frank, you're doing this. Do this.
Yeah.
And he was there, so you could reach out, ask questions. Like, that's a big deal, too.
That's a huge.
There's a lot of people that have a lot of knowledge. I mean, we've seen, I think we started to see with the IULs and stuff, right? Yeah. Like, at first, we had a handful of guys doing, they're like, leave me alone.
Yeah, right.
And then Juan Franco's like, dude, I'll help anyone. Like, he's like, shit, I'm using other people's stuff for my social media anyway, so just do the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's funny because you get one or two to start pouring back into others, and then a lot of other people join in. Yep. And now we got damn near half the company selling IULs.
Crazy. It's crazy. And back to your team, like, y'all accepted me, which is crazy too. Which I knew that I was safe and good. So when Sean says, hey, I'm gonna start my own. Do you ever hear the story how I said I'm coming with you?
No.
He calls me one day and I'm standing outside talking to him, and he goes, this is when he was going through the divorce.
Yep.
And he goes, dude, I don't know why I can't do this on my own. And I thought he was talking about his divorce. I should have known better. I was like, dude, it'll be okay. The longer you're apart, he's like, no, you dumbass. Why can't I start my own IMO? I was like, you probably can. He's like, I think I'm going to. I'm like, I'm in. That was literally the conversation. I walk inside. I told Jam, I was like, we're out. We're going with Sean.
Yeah.
And that's how we started.
That's funny. He thought he was asking for advice on divorce.
Yeah, for sure.
He's like, that's the least of my worries.
Yeah, that's the least of my worries. It was so funny, but that's how it started. But I knew at that point in time, like, y'all accept me like I was part of your team.
Right.
And that could only come from him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, with his pure heart of wanting to help and him telling y'all, like, do we help everybody?
Yep.
Because you could have very easily been like, who's this guy?
Right.
But y'all weren't.
No.
Like, you were like, y'all. I was a stepchild.
Yeah, it was like,
you know what I mean?
Oh shit, Frank's here.
Brother.
You know, like it was like your cousin's coming over for Christmas.
Right.
Like it was, but
and that's how FFL was.
Yeah.
For a lot of years, we were like that. Everybody was accepted everywhere, and any person was helped by anybody.
Right.
And that's where we're at. Like, as a group, that's what we do.
Absolutely. And I mean, for me, it was like I saw Sean doing that, so I'm like, well, dude, if Sean's vouching for these guys, it must be good, so why not?
Why not?
It's funny. You bring up that, leaving the other company. I remember I was running appointments, and me and Sean were in the same area, and he had overbooked, and he's like, do you want this one? So we meet, and we're about 15 minutes north of here. And we just pull over. It's summer, and we get out in the middle of the street. We're talking, and he's like, I'm thinking about quitting. And I'm like, thank God, dude. I've been thinking about quitting for a long time. I just had nothing. I mean, kind of like you. I had no. I didn't go to college, degree. I wasn't going back to construction.
Right.
So I didn't have any other options. If I did, I would have been gone a long time ago.
Right.
So I'm like, thank you. Like but it was, you talking about being a team player. I've known Sean at that point for probably 4 or 5 years. So I trusted him. I knew he wasn't doing anything to hurt me.
For sure.
So he didn't even have to tell me the plan. Once he said, I'm thinking about quitting, I'm like, cool, when?
You're right.
Like, let's do it. I'm there, But it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's when you put the team first, it's going to benefit you. And I always did that with Sean. Sean's like, dude, I was a full-time agent. And he's like, dude, I need some help in the office. I'm like, okay, what do you need? He's like, I want to hire you. I'm like, okay, but what about selling life insurance? Like, I want you to still sell, but I want to hire you to train our agents. Yeah. Because you're good at training. I'm like, okay.
I'm in.
Cool. Like, whatever you want to do, bro. I'm here. But,
dude, it's funny. All these, like, fools that think they can leave or, start their own IMO and go like, well, what are you going to offer them?
Correct.
You know what I mean? Nobody has a team that has done as much for them as you've done for us.
Correct.
So why are they going to leave? Just they're not. Nobody's like, this is the greatest place to be, bar none.
How many people leave and come back?
A lot of them.
You got one on your one of your top guys.
Yep.
Like we've talked about that with Mike here.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, dude, I left, and he's like, dude, the grass wasn't greener.
Nope.
He's like, I would have came back sooner, but I had to swallow my pride first. Like that's actually a great true talk if you want to go back and dig that one.
Oh yeah.
You know, and now he's come back, and even like, you know, seeing your guys' dynamic, and we're gonna have you guys both on soon.
Yeah.
But like going from where it was kind of like an oil and water mix.
Yep.
Y'all separated, and you came back, and seeing you now, it's like it's cool. You know, like seeing y'all walked in today, I'm like, oh shit, like it's just, they're boys. You know.
Yeah,
like,
no doubt.
It's been awesome.
He's great. He's so good at. And here's what's cool about us. And we do what we're good at.
Right.
And we don't try to mix it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't try to do what he does because I can't.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I think it takes some maturing to figure that out, though, right? Like, when you're first in his business, you try to be all things to all people.
You do,
and you're never gonna be that.
No, it's impossible.
It's like, you know, we're talking about Sean. Sean does what he's good at.
Yeah.
Sean ain't in here figuring out IT stuff. Right. He ain't in here putting his table. He ain't in here. But dude, you need something answered. You need a decision made. Dude, he's on the phone talking all day long.
That's right. No doubt.
But figure out what you're good at and do that, and then hire people. That's what people don't see. It's like, well, you know, Sean does all that. Yeah, he does this, but there's also this staff here with like 25 employees that do all the things that he's not good at.
Yeah, for sure.
And he does the things we're not good at.
Well, dude, and if you think about the first, you know, even conferences now, it's like, you know, I used to get pissed when the itinerary would come out. You're like, you're training on mortgage protection. I'm like, again, like, but then I was like, you know what? I get it.
Yeah.
Like, why would they have, like, you're not going to have me train on lead generation or at that point in time building a team because my team wasn't as big as Andrew Taylor's team. You know what I mean? So have Andrew train on building, you know? So it's how we've always done it.
Yeah. And I remember when back in the day we do the boot camps. And I we have to look at the list because I'm like, I know I'm doing phone script.
You're right.
Like, bro, can I do in-home? No, you can do phone script. But I'm good at in-home. Yeah, but you're better at phone script.
You're right.
Damn it. Can I train building a team? No, you don't have a team. Build, phone script, phone script. I'm like, all right, fine, you know?
Yep.
But yeah, you just, do what you're good at.
That's it.
And surround yourself by people that are good at what you're
correct.
Not, you know, it's what you did with File, right? Like all these things, like you got all the ideas, but a lot of them, but you ain't going to flesh them out.
No, not a chance.
No.
And Jamie too. Like that's what Jamie and I have done for years.
Yeah.
Like she's very good at being, organizing stuff and, And I don't do it.
They should talk about phone script training, dude.
Oh, Lord.
Jamie's a beast. And it's funny because you were doing all the sales.
Yeah.
Right? So like we'd have you guys, well, Jamie's gonna train on phone script. But at first I'm like, why aren't you doing all this?
Yeah.
But she's better at it.
She's so much better. Cause it's funny because she's really patient calling people with, as a lead.
Yeah.
And I'm really patient with the agents. And it's funny, it's opposite. Like she's
got no pay. Yeah.
None. I'm like, seriously, babe? Because all the agents are like, I'm afraid of Jamie. I'm like, you're afraid of Jamie. You're like, she don't play around. I'm like, it's just funny, people's perceptions of stuff.
Yeah. This business, it can be a roller coaster. Right?
For sure.
Not can, it is.
Yeah.
It will be for a long time. And I feel like, watching you, and I think you guys have kind of hit this stride lately. Like there's ups and downs, but then you get to a point where you're kind of above the roller coaster. Like and I feel like your team, you guys are there now. Not that, I mean, you got a ton of room to grow
for sure,
but y'all have been pretty consistent for the past few years. What really changed to kind of get you on that course to where you're not having these massive swings anymore?
I mean, some of it is obviously maturity and growth and mindset. Some of it's the surroundings, like what happened in 2022. Like nobody could control what happened then.
Right.
So it's kind of like you just dust yourself off and keep going. But I think the challenge with a lot of folks is they stop when stuff gets bad, they stop.
Yeah.
Instead of just keeping your head down and doing the stuff day in and day out that you've always done.
Right.
Because if you stop, it's going to be 20 times worse.
Yeah.
It was bad it was bad for everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
But it could have been a lot worse if we'd have just said, screw this, I'm not doing it. Or I'm going to change all this stuff. No, the basics of this business never change.
Yeah.
Get leads, set appointments, sell. Find people that are interested in doing what you do. Yep. Get them in, get them trained, get them selling. None of that changes. No. We still do it every day, day in and day out. I mean, Jamie's taking all my calls today, but, dude, every day I've got, 8, 10, 12, 15, 20 people on my calendar that I'm going to try and recruit.
Yeah.
So it's just we just stuck with the basics throughout that process, and I think if you do that, it'll always work out.
Yeah. I feel like it's like that with anything you do. Like if you're off course, whether it's your sales, your recruiting, look at the basics. And find, like, I mean, my son, I never coached, but my kids played football growing up, and it's like if they had a bad game, dude, that next practice, they were doing the basics.
Yep.
They're tackling, they're blocking.
Yep.
They're not coming up with some new trick play.
Nope.
It's like that's not why we got beat.
No,
we got beat because these three guys missed tackles.
That's right.
And the line sucked.
Yep.
Like, they just got back to basics.
That's it.
And it's the same thing like in this business. Your sales aren't where they need to be. You're not helping as many families as you want to. Well, how much activity are you putting in?
Right.
And how's your attitude?
That's it.
Well, what else? There's nothing else.
There's nothing else. I remember one time I was struggling like crazy because Jamie used to set most of my appointments.
Yeah.
And then we started getting the old complaint of I don't have a Jamie, so I can't do what you do.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, baby, you're gonna stop, and if I need you to set 2 or 3, you'll set them just quietly. She's the best. She's like, she doesn't need credit ever. She doesn't care. And there was a time where I was just getting no-showed, like nonstop. And she's like, record yourself. So I did. And she's like, why are you telling people you're just going to stop by and drop some information off? I'm like,
we've all made that mistake.
I'm not saying that. She's like, yeah, you are. Listen to, 2.5 minutes in. I'm like, huh. I am saying that, you know what I mean? And I was like, get back to the basics.
Right.
I'm going to go over this information with you. You know what I mean? Just small stuff, but we all go through it. And getting coaching is a big deal. Too many people have too big of an ego to go, hey, what am I doing wrong?
Oh, dude, 90% of people wouldn't be able to do that. Go to their wife and go, hey, coach me. You know what I mean? Like, ego wouldn't let them.
No, you wouldn't, but she's good. And that's, and there's always somebody better. Dude, I don't care to say she's way better than I am on the phone.
Sure.
Way better.
Who cares?
Yeah, I don't care.
Right.
And she has no problem going, dude, he's way better at handling problems. You know what I mean? It's just, it is what it is.
Right. It's like kind of reevaluate, what are your goals? Was your goal to be the best phone trainer in the world, or was your goal to help a certain amount of families every week?
That's right. That's right. We had to put food on the table.
Yeah. So if that's the goal, who cares how we get there?
That's right.
I don't care if you little Tino's one down, ain't little anymore, but if he's the one down, who gives a shit?
That's right.
Whatever. As long as it works.
That's right.
Dude, but it's been fun to watch. Amazing
sure.
to see, and thank you for everything you guys are doing. Now we're gonna dig in that. We're gonna have Mike here soon, and we'll do a true talk with both of you.
That's exciting.
Kind of let these guys know like what you're doing for everyone.
Yeah,
I tell you all the time I get called. I talk to Dominique all the time. He's like, dude, Frank's doing this. I'm like, that's awesome because you ain't even on his team. Like it's cool to watch. But it's cool. It's cool to watch, but it's also like what everyone should do.
For sure.
It's how we built this.
For sure. It's how we built this thing, and we can get to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 billion.
Yeah.
If we go back to that.
Absolutely.
And the cool thing is, like, it happens to every team. You get somebody in that thinks they're bigger than the team, and then the team starts losing, and then you cut that person and the team starts winning again. Mm-hmm. I think we've gone through that. You know, I think we've gotten rid of the arrogant assholes.
Absolutely.
Pardon my French.
Yeah. All good.
So I'm excited.
Me too. I'd like to wrap with some stuff that has nothing to do with life insurance. So I got some random questions I'm going to throw at you. And they're going to be, so if you watch True Talk, like he says it all the time. Yeah, I definitely have a few I really like. So, you're a movie guy, right?
I am.
Do you have a favorite movie of all time?
Like serious comedy or doesn't
Well,
matter?
I'll put it this way. Elon Musk wants to move us all to the moon or Mars or wherever we're going. Let's say we're going, and he goes, Frank, we got room for one movie that you can bring.
Jeez. Probably have to go at The Godfather.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
Is it because it's long?
It's just because it is. It's
great.
It's great, and it's. I'm not like my family's not in the mob.
Yeah.
Even though people think they are.
Right.
But it's just great. That's how an Italian family is.
Yes.
Like barring the killing and like that's
right.
That's how my household is every day. My dad is just it's so it hits home.
Yeah, that's awesome. Same question, but for music, is there what album would you bring?
Ooh, that's a good one. I like everything.
Yeah.
Probably Pearl Jam, their first album.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. And then last one, if you could be any fictional character in history, who would it be and why?
I'd like to be invisible. Is there somebody that can be invisible? That'd be badass.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely, you could be, well, I guess Mrs. Fantastic, but you'd have to switch. So I don't know about that. But
Yeah, Mr. Fantastic.
There you go.
You know, that would be badass if I could just
Hollow
be a
Man,
fly
there
on
you
the
go.
wall. Yes, be
Remember
a
that?
fly on the wall.
Yeah.
You know, listen to people.
There you go. Cool. Well, dude, I appreciate you coming up. I really do.
Thank you for having me. It's always an honor.
Yes, guys, hit subscribe button, like this, share this with people on your team. That's like, you know, be a team player. Let your team, and even that, we share training all the time. Dude, did you see so-and-so's training?
Right.
And support your teammates while
For
they're
sure.
on. This is what I love. Like, you get someone in here, and they're big on social media. They help promote. Their podcast is great. And I'm like, dude, why can't you do it for
everybody
when
else?
Frank's
Yeah.
here? Or, you know, like, why? Why not?
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
I believe your podcast was great, but his also was.
I've not watched a bad one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you watch every single True Talk that's out there, dude, I promise you'll learn something in every single one of them. It's just that's why the conferences are so huge.
Yep.
It's why, I mean, dude, I'm fighting for the annuity production to go up because it's so helpful for these agents. And I'm like fighting with people to share the SRS call every Thursday.
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, like, why are y'all not hopping on that?
I ran numbers, dude. This is crazy. Every agent that I've ever brought on that's written more than one annuity has never rolled any debt.
Wow.
Not a one. So
it's crazy, but it's not. I'm not
It's
surprised.
crazy, but it's not. Yeah, it makes sense.
It does, yeah.
But people are going, well, there's not a lot of spread on annuities. Yeah, but how about keeping your agents around forever?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they will definitely keep your agents profitable.
If you're not a team player, you say shit like, there's no
for
spread.
Sure.
No one cares.
No one cares.
Hey, you're helping a client and you're helping your agent if you get them to sell
Most
annuities.
importantly, correct.
Yep.
So
all you made peanuts. Who cares? Who cares?
That's all right.
You know, but thanks again, dude. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. You know where to find us every week right here on True Talk. We'll see you next week.